There are 5 big things you absolutely need to know before you take that plunge into full-time RV life or even part-time RV life, or else that dream of RV travel could turn into the biggest nightmare of your life. Now, some of these things you might not want to hear, but we are going to be brutally honest about both the pros and the cons, and why if we had just known these 5 things, RV life would have been much different for us when we first got started. Now, the first thing has to do with a way to minimize unexpected costs. When we first got started RVing, one of the things that I had experienced was a family member who had to have their RV towed due to a mechanical breakdown. And that particular family member shared with me just how expensive the tow bill was for an 8-mile tow in his particular area. One of the things that I've done early on is make sure that we have roadside assistance on our insurance policies, because I don't want to be stuck on the hook for an expensive tow bill. So when we got our RV, I made sure we had roadside assistance on our insurance policy, figured we're good in the event that we ever would need to be towed. Well, a couple years in, we're RVing, we're down in Arizona, and we have a breakdown. The RV overheats. It's going to require a repair. We need to get towed to the nearest service facility. We made the phone calls, secured a tow company that could take us to the nearest service facility, which they did. And thankfully, it was only about 5 miles down the road from where that we broke down. So we pay the tow bill. I submit it to our insurance company so we can get reimbursed, because we've got roadside assistance. We should be able to be good on this thing. Well, this is where I found out a very hard lesson. And that is, your insurance policy towing coverage for your roadside assistance has a max, an out-of-pocket that they're gonna cover for towing. And when it comes to an RV, it is not cheap. And that max goes just like that. And we were left on the hook for a portion of that tow bill that I was not expecting, because I didn't realize that that was actually going to even be a thing. So the first thing that I wish I would have known is to dig into insurance coverages, make sure that you've got the coverage you need, and purchasing additional insurance for roadside assistance if you ever need to be towed. Now, I did that the second time that we ever had to get towed. It was very easy. I picked up the phone, I called our roadside assistance, they sent the tow truck. They towed us that particular time about 30 miles to the nearest facility, 0 bill. We were able to get repaired and back on the road. Now, the next thing is about learning new skills and how things in an RV actually work. Now, here's the deal. It's not really rocket science. Lesson learned the hard way again, man. I think learning through the school of hard knocks is just our MO or something. But our very first trip out in our first RV, not this one, but our first one, we had a slide in the bedroom that was having problems. Now, it wouldn't come in, it wouldn't come out, but worse, it was sliding out on us on like a travel day. Like, that's scary, right? So we were mooch docking at a family member's house, small town, Ohio. We called an RV tech that was able to come out and replace a bolt that had broken in the slide mechanism. And thankfully, it only cost us a few $100s, because we're in small town, Ohio. Labor rates aren't that expensive. Now, fast forward just a few months later, same thing, same RV, happens again. Well, this time we're not in small town Ohio. No. Much different scenario, much different remote location that we have to call a tech, and it cost us a pretty penny to have another tech come out and repair the same thing. But now here's the problem. That kept happening because of something we did, and that in our ignorance, we were adding too much weight to that slide out, because we had modified the bed to a king size bed. So we had used a very heavy OSB plywood for that bed platform modification, just to try to give it support, and didn't know anything about the fact that extra weight can cause other issues. Fast forward a couple of years. Now, we've gotten some knowledge. We've gotten to know our RV. Ben has gone through the home study course through the National RV Training Academy. Now we're in this RV. We're just outside of Washington, D.C., and we have an issue with our bedroom slide. So I'm trying to set things up. The slide won't go in or out. I'm moving the switch back and forth because we'd had an issue with this particular switch not always wanting to work. That bedroom slide is sometimes finicky.
Yeah.
I can't get it to come out.
Can't get it to come out. You just have to kind of toggle it back and forth.
Oh, I've been toggling.
Well, it's just not working right now.
All right, I feel like this is turning into a small disaster. Ben just decided to try to pull these out, and now we just have wires. I pray to God this works.
Me too.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure you don't get shocked.
Long story short, Ben is able to troubleshoot it. We're able to get the slide to come in and out just like we need to that particular campground. A couple of weeks later, now the slide won't come in, period.
It's gotta be something simple, but it's like just tracing out where that is.
Again, getting to know your RV, we were able to manually bring that slide in. We were able to diagnose, troubleshoot the exact problem, order the parts that we needed, and make the repair ourselves.
Okay, so the key is on now, so let's go ahead. That's connected up, so now let's give it a good test.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna be able to sleep. Now let me tell you why that this saved us hundreds, if potentially not thousands of dollars. We had just been in New York City the week prior, and there was an RV in the campground stuck there because the slides would not come in. And not only was that an issue with the slides not coming in, but the bigger issue was they had to stay in that campground and pay for more nights at a campground that was $150 a night because of a tech availability. Big, big problems, nightmare stuff that can happen if you don't have just a little bit of knowledge, which that's why thing number 2 is having those basic maintenance skills, getting to know your RV, and taking that course from the National RV Training Academy, or better yet, head down there in person and really get to know your RV in a hands-on way. So something more on that as it relates to being able to make repairs on your own that I'm going to share about that's super important in just a few minutes. But before we jump into the rest of the video, I do want to take a quick minute to share about today's sponsor, and that is rvmattress.com. Now, one of the upgrades we made a few years ago was our Aurora Lux hybrid mattress from rvmattress.com, and it really has been great having a mattress that helps us get the rest that we need. Now, their mattresses come rolled up in a box and wrapped in plastic, so the shipping process is not only super simple, it's really easy to get through the door of an RV. Another thing we realized is when we were in our RV, we were sleeping much better than when we were staying at the Glamper Hideaway. So we went through brooklynbedding.com to upgrade the mattresses at the Hideaway to Brooklyn Bedding mattresses as well. So we get the same sleep whether we're in or out of the RV, and when we're hosting our guests, we know they're getting a restful night's sleep as well. So if you're a part-time RVer, you can get the same quality of rest in and out of the RV. Now, one of the things we love about RV Mattress is they have a factory in Arizona, so not only is shipping free, it's fast, and their mattresses come with a 10-year warranty. So a huge thank you to RV Mattress by Brooklyn Bedding for sponsoring. You can visit rvmattress.com/grateful and save 25% off with the code GRATEFUL. And throughout this month of November, there's going to be some really big deals, some of the biggest of the year, up to 30% off. Now, the next thing that I wish I knew has to do with preparing for a travel day. Here's a really funny rookie story. And you know, they say like confession's good for the soul, but bad for the reputation. Hopefully this confessional isn't super damaging to our reputation. But when we bought our first RV, we were as green could be when it came to knowing anything about RVs, their operation, all of it. So we had been looking for a while. We found a used RV within our budget. And as a side note, if you've been watching, you know we believe in paying cash for any vehicle purchases. So found one that we could pay cash for. We picked this RV up in July, and now our kids had been attending a sports camp that week. So Ben and I thought it would be a fun surprise after we picked up the RV to then drive the RV to the sports camp where they were at and pick them up in the RV. But you know how it is purchasing a vehicle, and then you do all of the things, you go down the DMV, you get your temp tag. Well, it makes one hungry. So we were hungry and we didn't want to get hangry. So we grabbed something to eat for lunch, and we thought this is the perfect time to test out the dinette. So we decided to test out the dinette. It worked great. We had lunch in the dinette, we got up, we came to the front of the RV, and away we went. In that very first corner Ben took out of the parking lot, well, everything that had been sitting in the dinette, drinks, food, and everything, slid right off and all over onto the floor. And so there was a very big learning curve and a lesson learned right at that moment about something called a pack down process. So we now know before that you take off, everything needs to be secured. So we've learned, put it away. I use the anti-skid shelf paper on our countertops for things like our coffee pot or anything that isn't going to be put into a cupboard or super uber secured. So we don't have any more moments that are reminiscent of the movie RVs. Now, the next thing has to do with some steps that literally everyone can take to be prepared. Now, remember how I was telling you about that slide out issue that we had? Well, one of the first things we did when we realized there was an issue was we went back to the fact that we knew that the switch sometimes was working and sometimes it was not. And so what we actually did was we tried replacing that switch for the bedroom slide before we moved on to try to troubleshoot anything else. Now, how did we replace the switch? Because we had a spare one with us. Why did we have a spare one with us? Well, we learned after our first year on the road that if something fails, especially if this is something that's maybe a smaller something, like a little switch, when you go to purchase a replacement, especially if that part is super inexpensive, well, it's just a good idea to get a spare to have along with you as well. So we also researched some of the most common parts that fail on an RV, and we've learned to have a few spare parts with us. Now, one common thing that we saw over and over is that people say a water pump is a thing that fails a lot. So we carry an extra one, we carry extra fuses, we actually carry some extra wiring. This came in super handy when we were boondocking in Oshkosh this summer because one of the families that was traveling with us had an issue where there was some wiring hanging down underneath of their slide. They didn't realize this was there, put the slide in, and actually damaged and broke some of that wiring. Because we had some spare wiring, it worked out great. We were able to get him the wiring he needed to be able to make that repair right then and there. This was super important because you have to realize this is a situation where it is super inconvenient to have to head into town, try to get supplies when you are in a location to just enjoy while you're there and to have fun. So now COVID, we feel like was a double-edged sword for travel. It was really good in a lot of ways. Campgrounds were really, really empty, but it was bad in other ways because so many things were closed.
So it's closed, like so many other things right now, which is a huge bummer.
And especially even national parks and not being able to visit those types of places. And this is where travel buddies, we learned the true value of having travel buddies. So we had another family that we traveled with for a good couple of months in those early days of COVID. And this was kind of accidental. Like this wasn't planned because like COVID wasn't planned, right? It just happened. And then we were like, well, where are you gonna be? Where are you gonna be? And we ended up being able to just be together. And that made all of the difference in being able to just really like thrive as a travel family during that particular time because I had somebody to go for a walk with every day versus so many people felt isolated. Our kids had buddies to be able to play with at the campground every day versus people that felt so isolated. And this is where we really like all of a sudden had this mindset shift of how valuable community on the road truly is. And if I had known that when we first started, I would have pursued it from day one if I had known that there were other families that were out there that we could have connected with. Now, all of this being said, everything that I told you in this video is actually completely useless because there's still one huge thing that you absolutely must know before you even consider getting started with RV life if you really want to be successful with this lifestyle. And we talk all about that in this video right up here. Do want to let you know we have these limited edition shirts, Experiences Over Things till November 12th. That info will be right up here. If we don't see you out on the road or around the campground, we'll see you in the next video.